country, pop, rock and roll, all in one station, mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas, 91.1 FM, The Boss. It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it. If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Programs presented are submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM, The Boss, and affiliates.
Welcome to Today with Kashay. It's Friday, the day we discuss social and business transformation in this digital age. Get ready, folks, for loose, fun, and hopefully inspiring dialogue. I'm Jesus, your guest co-host. To my right, the lady of the hour and namesake of the show, also known as my better half. Take it away, Kashay.
Well, hello. It's Friday. Yes, we kept you waiting a bit. Because all good things
come to those who wait.
So we wanted to see how good you guys would be out there. And here we are. It's 12:10. It's Friday.
We have a dedicated audience. I think they stuck around.
I mean, they should. Oh, come on, guys. Hey, I got to keep you waiting every now and then.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
a little bit of mystery.
Imagine if I came on at 12 every time. Oh, my gosh. It wouldn't be real.
Well, it would be consistent.
Oh, well,
You were consistent this morning during the workout.
Don't even. That workout this morning. So for some reason, I felt like, I did it. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to do it. I'm never going to quit. Mm-hmm. That's just it's not in me.
Right.
But I will say that I felt like I didn't have my Wheaties this morning.
You didn't have your Wheaties. You had 2 cups of coffee.
Okay, what did I have?
And you had plenty of water. You looked lively, so either you were just...
And I had my vitamin Ds.
You had your vitamin Ds.
My gummies. I ate these vitamin D gummies.
Yeah.
And they're so good. They give you like this energy.
The thing is that we have to get mentally ready for our workouts every Friday morning because I'm going to start calling it the demented workout because Brian does the demented workout.
He called it that, so why not? Why not?
And why you and I go to the corner of the gym, that's the most, because it's our corner, but they don't have a lot of ventilation there. So why we do that to ourselves, I'll never know.
Do we like torture? No, well, I don't know.
Well, maybe, we maybe proving one to each other.
Obviously.
Is he going to last? Is she going to last? Are you going to last? Or is she going to last?
Well, you know what's so cool, though? It is what you just said. It's the teamwork that we have. We literally carry each other through it. I know we're each doing it independently.
Right.
But it's knowing when you look at me and you help me say, oh, Cash, you want me to help you with that weight? And vice versa. So,
yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
That's true.
All right.
Well, I am excited for our guest today.
Yes.
We have 2 senior folks, Cindy and Michael. We'll introduce them right after the first commercial break with the Lucas Group.
Yay.
You know the Lucas Group, don't you?
I know the Lucas Group. Yes, I'm familiar with the Lucas Group.
Now, you were a recruiter with Robert Half. Okay, I'm giving away
What are you giving all the stories, man?
I'm giving out your background. So, when were you a recruiter?
So I actually got on at Robert Half in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought in. They were looking to bring after the kind of that 2008. We had that downturn.
Sure.
And they after the downturn, they literally had a team of I don't know maybe 15, 20 people, and it went down to like 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought me in at the time to kind of come in and revamp it. And so I started off as a senior recruiter, and then started working there, learning the whole recruiting world over at Robert Half.
Did you enjoy it?
I'll tell you, Robert Half was an organization where you really wore a lot of hats. One of the things I can say that it's carried me into who I am today, because everything that I've done has an element to me, right?
Right.
And so with the Robert Half organization, it taught me how to manage juggling a lot of things at once. And I realized, and I also got into management.
Right.
So I moved from senior recruiter to account executive, and then became a division director over the whole team, and then eventually
I always
moved on.
wondered about that world.
Did you?
I always
What did you
wondered
wanna
about that
know? What
world
do you wanna
because
know?
I've been a manager and hired people
Yeah.
and the whole deal. But I always wondered how it is that, that folks that are specialists, especially that are
Yeah.
specialists in certain industries,
Yeah.
how they look and value. Because at the end of the day, it could still be you don't have a crystal ball to understand exactly what's going on in this individual,
Yeah.
in their background and the whole deal. You've got to be over time just so seasoned to really pick up on those little things and understand, would this person be a right fit? And I always
Yeah.
wondered how that world operated, how you go and manage talent and find, especially when you're representing a company. Did you ever?
No, it's exactly what you said. I love to interview. One of the things that I think I did, I started off early working. I started at 16 at Exxon. And so for me, I then ventured off to different organizations, different companies. And one of the things I did is I became a master of interviewing.
Yeah.
And they call it, the art of interviewing. And so I then would interview with an agency or something. I'd go, God, that's kind of fascinating. Like, they can sit there and they can interview me and they can ask me. I want to do that.
Right.
And that, exactly what you said, got me to want to pursue that and learn that. And then I actually, of course, you know me. If I want to do something, what happens? So I got into that world, and it was an amazing experience, as I said. And I still carry, certainly, a lot of those tools today, because it's one of those where you really, really have to have the ability to understand people, to relate to people, and to finesse so many different hats at once.
Now I understand the line of questioning during our first date.
Well, that could have been working from the legal. No.
And I don't blame you.
but anyway, yes, no, but that you're right. It's a fascinating world that goes behind the scenes.
I can't wait to get Cindy and Michael
Yeah.
on. And again, it's after the first commercial break. So everybody tune in and stay tuned for that, because it's going to be a really interesting discussion. We've been looking forward to this episode for a couple of weeks.
We have.
And I'm just fascinated on what's going on in today.
Oh,
I would
my
define
gosh.
as a buyer's market. But I wanted to bring in some stats and some things that are happening from a job standpoint, but I went back a year and a half.
Okay.
And say, I wonder if so we're going to pose these questions to when Cindy and Michael come on live. I wanted to pose these questions and see what their take on it as experts in the field. But I pulled a World Economic Forum report, and it was a jobs report published in 2018.
Okay.
So listen to this. In that report, again, this is in 2018, the World Economic Forum suggested that between 2018 and 2020, or 2022, here in the next 2 years, 75 million current job roles would be displaced by machines and algorithms.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, now
75 million.
75 million. Now, once you pick yourself up off the chair that you've fallen out of, listen to this.
Okay.
And this is encouraging. But 133 million new jobs will likely emerge during the same period.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring that report out because obviously this was before COVID. I wonder, so the question I wanted to pose to you and the audience, this has got to be accelerated now, because if you look at the dynamics that are going to be impacting why roles are disappearing and why new ones are emerging, three key attributes come out.
Okay.
One is automation.
Sure.
The next one is robotization.
Okay.
Robots, you've heard of bots, et cetera, robotization.
Yeah.
And digitization, digital, okay? That's what they're adapting now. So in my belief is that these trends are now being accelerated.
Okay.
They've got to be. We'll ask the Lucas Group. Now, this is an interesting statistic. Today, and that was back in 2018, 71% of task hours, the hours you were putting into your role, were performed by humans versus a 29% performed by machines or algorithms. By 2020, they predict that 58% of the task hours will be performed by humans and 42% by machines and algorithms. So today, you could be chatting online with AT&T, a service provider, whoever that is, and you're likely going to be speaking to some type of bot or some type of digital entity that is going to be answering your questions, not a live person. not a live person.
Interesting.
Now, back then, this is what they reported as the top 10 declining roles by 2022.
And that was what year again?
This is 2018.
Wow, okay.
So we're in
So
2020 now. So think about this.
2 years ago.
Yeah, so again, my question is
Yeah.
whether this has been accelerated. So
Okay.
the top 10 declining roles.
Okay.
Number 1, data entry clerk.
Yeah, okay.
I would think that a lot of people are now going to be entering their data
Okay.
as we do. Now, if you're working on Chrome or another browser or anything like that, it populates your data. I'm thinking about basic data, especially if you're buying something online.
Sure.
Accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks.
Yeah, because
Self-input.
outsourced.
A lot of you
Yeah.
could outsource as well. Administrative and executive secretaries.
Oh, I actually filled that spot before, and
Okay.
that, I respect that role.
Okay. Number 4, assembly and factory workers. Remember what I said
Yeah, of
earlier
course,
about
of course, the
robotization?
robots, right,
yeah.
right.
If you look at the Amazon DCs, a lot of them are now run by robot machines.
Okay.
Picking and sorting.
Okay.
Client information and customer service workers.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Business service administrative managers, accountants and auditors, material recording, stock keeping clerks, general operation managers, and postal service clerks.
Wow.
Are you sending more mail today than you did 10 years ago?
Wow,
No.
No, not at all.
No.
And I'll go a week or two before I even check the mail, right?
Yeah. Now, what they said was that roles based on technological innovation, like software and application development,
Sure.
and roles. Now, listen to this: roles requiring distinctly human traits. Sales professionals, for example, the people that actually have to interface with accounts, are expected to grow in the coming years.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I get excited, because now we see the forecast on the new roles that are going to be emerging over the next 2 years.
Okay.
And again, I repeat, it's got to be accelerated, considering the COVID.
I'm so curious.
Okay. The number 1 role, data analyst and scientist. Data scientist. Okay. Data
Trying to
mining.
analyze it.
Finding out,
Yeah.
because if we're getting into an era
Sure.
of big data,
Yeah.
what are we going to do with all that data that we're gathering now online in the interactions that we're having with our clients? It could be business clients
sense,
or
yeah.
end consumers on the retail side. AI. Okay, artificial intelligence, machine learning specialist, general and operations manager. They've actually reappeared on this list. Software and application developers and analysts, sales and marketing professionals.
Well, yes, that is the most important role.
I sold myself when I wanted to go out with you.
Oh,
right?
you know what? I don't think you sold yourself. I think your authenticity came
Thank
out,
you.
and that was what
I'll take
did
that.
it. That's what did it, I think.
I'll take that.
I hope.
Here's an exciting role. Digital transformation specialist. And I was reading an area of digital marketing called performance marketing, associated with affiliate marketing. Incredible stuff. If anybody wants to take a note, look up performance marketing. It's associated with affiliate marketing. That is critical,
That's
folks.
up and coming?
Yeah, it's up and coming.
Okay.
Critical.
Okay.
Critical, folks. Critical. Performance marketing professionals. New technology specialists, organizational development,
Okay.
right? Especially if we've got remote work going on, right?
Exactly.
And IT. I mean, from here on out.
Of course.
IT. What do you think about all those emerging roles, babe?
Well, I think it goes with the trend. I mean, obviously. So I think that's everyone needs to get their feelers out.
Yeah.
People who are either going to school, or people who are deciding what direction they want to go with a career, or even people who want to start a business,
Right.
need to take a note of that,
Right.
and start to take that into consideration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, I think it's time we get our experts on the phone.
I think
and we'll do that
so.
right after the commercial break. So we're going to take a quick pause, and we will be right back.
Hi everyone, this is Chef Laurent. I'm the owner of Taste of Paris, a catering company for seniors. If you want to know more about those services, give us a call at 832-415-7374 or visit our webpage at laurentvalsculinary.com. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY
Turn on your glam
91.1
today.
FM.
The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein lip gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. JennaKlein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1.
My name is Dr. Willie Villarreal. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and owner and founder at Core Sports Health here in Conroe. At Core, we take a root cause functional medicine approach to help you achieve your optimal health and vitality. If you're suffering from any of the following symptoms, we can help you through a comprehensive treatment plan that includes diet and nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and stress reduction. For an appointment, please call us at 936-441-2673 or visit us online at coresportshealth.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
And we are back. Let's see if we have our guest online and live. Cindy and Michael, are you there?
There they are.
There they are.
Woo! Hello.
Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Let me put my so I can hear everyone.
There she is. Cindy, good afternoon. And Michael, good afternoon. Live from Atlanta. Hotlanta.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kashay, I'm channeling your black on black.
That's right. I think we all everybody got the memo on having a consistent dress today.
We have to. We have to be. This is how we do it, right?
That's right. That's right.
Had to
Cindy,
get out of
Michael,
yoga clothes. What can I say?
let me ask you a question, just straight up. How busy are you right now? We're going to get into little intros in just a second, but I keep thinking about you being on that side of the world in terms of a buyer's market that we're in today. How busy are you today?
You want to take it, Michael?
If you have me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, I'm really busy because the transformation between what's happening and how we consume in my world, which is consumer goods, CPG it's called, consumer packaged goods,
Right.
has had a tectonic plate that shifted, right? The world of how we consume at retail, even in the very beginning, we talked about, getting your mail or going to the store, that's changed. So the gap that major companies have realized is really prevalent. I mean, they know they've got to make a change for some real digital gurus to have the messaging against how to reach those consumers, how to touch them. It's been really exciting time, actually, and not by way of the pandemic, but it happens to have really shifted the way we consume.
Do you and Cindy now that tells me, and you chime in, Kashay, if you agree. If the candidates have to change and adapt as well to the new technologies, you as specialists in finding talent have to change as well. How have you changed? Just a quick little a blurb on your backgrounds and then how you changed along with how the roles were changing or what companies were looking for.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I'll
Cindy.
take that. So prior to COVID, I was sitting on the 23rd floor of a very exclusive high-rise in Buckhead.
Wow.
And now we are all working remote, every single one of us. We're just now starting to trickle back. But everyone is becoming a lot more virtual, having to be more comfortable in front of these cameras, and just make the adaptations. Because prior to COVID, the majority of my clients had a line in the sand. They would not consider remote talent. Yes, that person has to move from Salt Lake City and come to our offices in East Hampton, Connecticut. They have to be at our headquarters.
Right.
Now we've seen an adjustment where, because most people are going to be working more remote roles, that these clients are a lot more flexible. So that's a positive for sure to a lot of good talent out there.
Then you can work remote, be anywhere. You can be in California working for a company based out of New York, literally,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, so that would open it up for them. Along with that, and what Michael was addressing earlier about how companies have to change to the new reality in your fields, which is fast-moving consumer goods, the candidates have had to move as well. Is that correct? They've had to move towards that, and some of the folks that are in later years or later in their career track, that's got to be. I mean, their heads must be spinning on how do I readapt to this right now. Is that what you're seeing with the candidates and their challenges?
I'll take it. I think that if you look at how old e-commerce is today, right? It's really actually been around for a while. We've all been ordering for Amazon, you know, and different places for quite some time. But if you look at a great marketer, let's say, and your palette or your canvas was in-store, retail, on shelf, advertising from outdoors, radio, TV, it's just shifted, right? The palette switched over to a digitized world and how we reach those consumers. So those even well-seasoned folks that have those talents, they just need to apply them to a new world.
Sure.
But the messaging and the engagement and part of building a brand is still there. So it's funny. I've got people in process right now that are 20, 30 years into their career, and I have people that are on the front side of their career with just a few years in brand management. And they're all adapting or getting used to this new palette that even the slowest of slow adopters is now using.
Right, and almost by, you know, just you have to know. You mentioned a word, and I want to say, you know, about age. We talked about the age of e-commerce. Let's talk about the age of the Lucas Group. 50 years. This is your 50th year, right? So we're talking about 1974 launched. Give us an overview on how the Lucas Group has, you know, grown over time in such a competitive field and such a leader, especially as specialists like you.
Well, you're talking about 50 years. We've only had 3 CEOs throughout that entire period of time. Art Lucas was the founder, and Andy Jennings took over the helm after he retired. And now that she's retired, Randy Marmon he comes from more of a contract background, so he's helping us diversify and be a lot more competitive amongst other executive recruiting firms. However, we were voted 5th best executive recruiter according to Forbes magazine. Wow. And you know, that's something that we're very proud of.
Right.
Because the type of talent that Lucas Group hires, it's exceptional. The tenure's longer than most executive recruiting. I can't speak for Robert Half, Kashay. Yes. But Lucas Group, you know, they keep their recruiters for long periods of time because they set us up for success. They don't micromanage. Again, at the end of the day, we're commission salespeople, and we get out of what we put into it. And it's developing relationships with clients and candidates alike.
Yeah,
that's great.
Cindy, tell us a little bit about your background and your specialty. I believe you're on the consumer product side, so if you could just tell us a quick minute blurb.
Yeah, Michael and I work on the same team, but sales and marketing, we're niche focused. So thank goodness those interesting statistics that you shared would not apply to our sales and marketing.
That's right.
Yeah, so sales and marketing, food, beverage, and consumer channels nationwide. I do a lot of work internationally as well. Okay. But if it has anything to do with touching food, manufacturing, retail, food service, food, beverage, and the consumer channels, I do a lot in health and beauty, over-the-counter, nutraceuticals, you know, anything to touch the consumer or that the consumer deals with.
Got it.
But that's what my niche is.
Got it.
And I've been doing this for 7 years with Lucas.
Awesome.
All right. And Michael, your quick blurb.
So I'm a diehard e-commerce guy, right? I started in electronics, and some crazy guys out of Seattle came and said they wanted to sell electronics online. We all thought they were crazy 20 years ago. And here we are, right? Yeah. So I ran international teams, business all across the world in that model, which was a very, you know, a great model for e-commerce in that it was a high average selling price and low weight. But then CPG came calling, right? It was the last frontier. We didn't really think about ordering groceries and consumables.
That's right.
Over, you know, delivery to your door.
That's right.
So I branched into that and ran teams in that world, and then came to Lucas Group with that same mindset of the top of the funnel down to conversion. How do we find the right product, which would be a candidate today, right? Right. Tell their brand story to the right client at the right time to get a conversion, to get a placement.
Awesome.
Oh, wow. There you go. Right there.
There you go.
Right there. A lot of digital tools. ZipRecruiter, obviously the well-known monster. Specialty websites. Applying directly through LinkedIn. Applying directly on a company site. What would you tell candidates out there? And please correct me if I'm wrong. You're probably looking for folks that are a little bit more detailed search. So what would separate how you approach a search versus a candidate that would just go automatically? I would assume that somebody at a senior level or CEO or CX level wouldn't necessarily go to a website or a company site and apply. So how do you differ that? Say we concentrate on this, but there's some digital tools that are just incredible, and it might just even be better for candidates to apply directly on the website. What would you say to that?
Cindy, you want to take it? You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
So if you think of the same thing I just said about the candidate being a product, right, and surfacing that message for that brand to the right audience at the right time, it's very different than if all of those brands are going down the highway past the same billboard,
right.
which
Good
would
point.
be the ad or the website.
Good
right?
point.
So we have personal conversations and understand what the client is trying to accomplish and the cultural fit for that person to come in and accomplish those goals. So in executive search, it's still about a very personal relationship with the client. I build teams like I work for that client directly, and they're my team.
Right, exactly.
So it's who I interview and what I would have in conversations on who I might surface.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I mean, that is very logical. Go ahead, Cindy, please.
And Kashay, you mentioned that when you were dating Jesus, that he was very authentic. So for people, some of the process stops and starts through the executive recruiter. I do a lot of screening out of people based on instinct, their authenticity, what their resume is. I feel like I'm an ongoing psychologist.
Yes.
Because you do have to get to the core of who these people are and what their motivations are, because at the end of the day, the client's the one paying the fee.
That's right.
And so we're very protective of the client. So for them to get through our screening system or process, they have to jump through some hoops. And so we do help them. If I see someone with some really strong talent that matches what my client's looking, I walk them through a very detailed process on how they can put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't make the decision. I'm the screening process.
Exactly. I love what Cindy and Michael are saying, because they have true ownership. I love what Michael just said, and Cindy just seconded. It was having true ownership on building the team. He's run a team, she's run a team, so they've been in the development, in the sales development, the team development role. So they understand what it is to put a team together, and they have the ownership behind that. So I suspect that a client that ultimately pays the fee is just, they say these folks are taking ownership as if they work on this side of the table. However, they are a hired expert for us to go through and find the right asset, the right brand, that can fit here.
Right.
What are
and
some
another point on
Go
that,
ahead.
to expand on that, there are times when the client says, no, Cindy, his resume doesn't read the way I need it to read. And I'm like, Mr. Client, you got to trust me on this. I need for you to have a conversation with this person, because a lot of times a resume is not as reflective as an actual conversation. So that's what we get paid for too, is for our client to trust us, and that we are steering them in the right direction with the best possible talent.
If I have a profile on LinkedIn and I don't think it's up to snuff, I can go to LinkedIn, do a little bit of LinkedIn or learning, etc. What are some of the key points that I want to consider in terms of SEO, making sure that it ranks and it stands out? What would you recommend on improving a LinkedIn profile?
It is totally data driven, right? It is search. You said it, SEO. Think of that LinkedIn profile as a way for you to capture the audience that you want to view you. I think one of the biggest mistakes today is people write way too much, right? They've given you the whole novel, not just the front jacket or the hook to the song.
Right.
So think about that as the hook to the song, and I want to find out more, listen to the rest of that single, as opposed to if I hear the whole thing or I see the whole thing, I'm kind of already lost and disengaged.
Interesting.
Think of that as your ad.
Yeah, that reminds me of how long should a resume be? Remember those discussions, baby? You always talked about how long should a resume be? If it's more than a page, if it's more than 2 pages, it's too much. I think there's a lot of A lot of validity to that. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I mean, you don't want to, as you said, you don't want to give the whole story up front. No one wants to that, or no one reads all that.
Right.
Most recruiters, and they can agree on this or not, but don't spend more than probably, within a minute or two viewing a resume. And I say a minute or two, it could be less, because of a lot of it is when you meet the candidate. You've
Right.
got the resume gives you a glimpse,
Okay.
a true glimpse
Okay.
of what is in store.
Right.
But until that person walks through your door, it can be a continuation or it can be something completely different.
Cindy and Michael, I call you out of the blue. I watched the Today with Kashay show. I want to introduce myself. You don't know me from Adam. What are the 2 to 3 attributes you want to pick up on that phone that you want to hear that say, okay, this person's on the ball, they understand what they're looking for, or they might be marketable to one of my clients? What would be some of the things that you're looking for or trying to listen to?
Energy, good communication
Yeah.
skills. I mean, I can pick up on energy almost immediately.
I love
and
that.
Those are a couple of points that we make when we're trying to prepare people for an interview. Smile if you're on the phone. Your client can hear it. Be engaged. And I always like to equate interviewing with Match.com, so to speak,
Yeah.
because if you're not acting like you're interested, if you haven't done your homework, if you are not prepared for that interview, that hiring company will pick up on that, and they will move on to the next person. So energy, lean in, smile, act like you're interested.
That's good.
Very good point.
Michael, from you?
It's really, we've said it without saying it multiple times. It is exactly the same as dating, right? I'm going to tell you about somebody I think you should meet, i.e. the client. The client is looking for me to tell them about somebody I think that they should meet. That would be the candidate. It's got to be that type of a dance where you're engaged, you're authentic. We can smell it a mile away if you're not. And we go,
Exactly.
this is somebody that I think you ought to have that first date with.
Right.
And while we'll never know all the chemistry, we'll never know for sure if you want a second date until the first one has occurred, we get that gut feeling of these people should meet. This would be a great catalyst for a great conversation. And sometimes maybe it's not a match, but it's that gut instinct of going, they would fit, that would be a great part of this team. And the worst thing that can happen is this will be a wonderful conversation. They'll both learn more about it and decide if it's a fit for a second date, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
So great.
Yeah, so interesting, so interesting. What are some of the roles that you see that are continuing to pop up at the executive level? Let's say at the mid-manager level and up in today's world, especially that, going through COVID. You mentioned earlier about people wanting to, now more inclined for grocery, et cetera. There's got to be people that are driving business that or helping drive business in that direction. What do you see some of the roles that are popping up?
It is truly brand engagement. It's the VP and higher level marketing to understand how to speak now to that audience, how to engage with brands directly. You can have a storied brand with tremendous success that doesn't engage with, let's say, D2C very well today.
Right,
and that
right.
gap was exposed by COVID, right?
Yeah.
They see the fact that they don't have that interaction directly.
Right.
So I think it's marketing really big. I mean, you can say e-commerce, but it's truly about that. How do we do it? And you mentioned it in the very beginning, performance marketing, right? That CPC campaign is called cost per click.
That's right.
What do those conversions look like? It's the messaging behind that. It's what are we doing to get them engaged with our brand and be loyal to our brand that I think is the biggest gap today. So they're hunting. Companies are looking for that every day.
Well, that's why it's called performance marketing. He's spot on. Performance is performance. You have to perform. Show me the ROI in this campaign or going through this channel to get to that consumer, and we have to be measured against it through income, revenue, whatever that is. What about for you, Cindy? What are you seeing that keeps coming up on your plate as needs from your clients?
Well, there's two areas I think that I seem to run into. There's a retiring workforce. There's people that have had the good fortune to stay and had longevity with companies for many, many years, and now they're looking to go into their golden years, especially during COVID. They're like, forget all this. I'm just going to go sit on a beach. So they're looking to replace top talent. And then also I work with a lot of companies that have been around since like the 70s or 80s, and they're always wanting to try to reinvent themselves.
Right.
So they're looking to bring on talent that is more savvy and that knows more of the e-commerce, the more social media tricks. So I guess that would be one of the biggest things I would encourage an older, more seasoned person to do, is to get more knowledge as far as the social media, because a lot of the companies are looking for that. And I do not believe they screen out by age necessarily. They're looking for the best possible person that fits their culture and that can reinvent their company and their brands.
That's awesome.
Very true.
I mean, that's a spot on.
They're spot on.
They are spot on. I am so glad that I had the idea of bringing in
I
Cindy
think it was
and Michael.
Great. It was great. And I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So to viewers and listeners out there who, whether they fell in the unemployment or furloughed or whatever situation, what would you say that their expectations? I know one of the big things that recruiters run across is the expectations sometimes of a candidate doesn't match where we are, whether it's the market and things of that nature. So in the market that we're in, what would you tell people out there from an expectation perspective, and what are you seeing from a salary, how this COVID unemployment has affected, and what people should be a little bit more open-minded?
Open-minded and more flexible. You're talking about compensation?
All of that, yeah.
I'll tell you my opinion on the compensation question, because it does come up a lot. Has it been impacted? Am I going to make less? What does my next opportunity look like? And I tell them that's the last thing that you should talk about. Talk about the opportunity and what you see that you could do for a company or they could do for your career. And if that matches up, if it's a real opportunity, then your ability to earn will come, right? If you can get in and get to work, it's going to continue to scale or continue to grow with your good work. Let's say, especially in marketing, if it's a brand like Cindy mentioned, been around forever, they're trying to reinvent themselves, they may need that seasoned manager to run the talent team that they've brought in that maybe is a younger generation.
Right.
If they've got people who are only looking for that front side of beginning, a disruptor maybe, well, they're also looking for the right match. They're not saying we're going to pay less to get it. They're saying find us the exact match that we want.
Right.
So be the solution to the opportunity, be the solution for the gap that they have,
Right.
and worry about that compensation part of the equation further down the line. You can't make a counter offer on an offer you never received.
Boy, that's true.
Spot on.
That is
Spot
so
on.
true.
I wanted you to get that out there because I know a lot of times people are out there and they're interviewing and they can't get past that. And so to people out there, expectations, I wanted that question to be answered.
I had
Thank you.
a question about expectation also on timeline. COVID, working remote, having to adapt to interview through video call, etc. So is the timeline still, in terms of turning around an opportunity, waiting to hear back, taking longer than normal? Is the timeline just automatically extended now? And as you go in more senior roles, a little bit more thorough. How would you speak to that?
I'll take that timeline. So when COVID first hit, I had several roles that were teed up to close sooner than later, and they got put on hold. So I apologize if you're seeing something on my screen.
No, we're not.
So fast forward, to answer your question, we're busier than ever because what's happening is some of these clients, they had to put on pause to figure out their new normal and how to navigate these new waters. But once they figured these pieces out, they're full steam ahead. They're needing the talent right away. And part of working with us is that we help again through that whole process. And we qualify. How soon are you wanting to fill? More times than not, they say, I need it filled last week. So
Wow.
at least we know that going in when we do these searches. It's
Right.
not like everyone's like twiddling their thumbs, wasting each other's time.
Right.
So I think as this new normal gets to be a little bit more acclimated
Sure.
with everyone, it's full steam ahead. It's moving along pretty quickly.
You mentioned, Cindy, that you work on some international placements. Is the international side for you slowing down? Is it also in line with domestic roles? And also a question for Michael, but do you see the international side also slowing down, or is that, again, full steam ahead as well?
So as far as my roles
Yes.
with international,
Yes.
not to take it away from you, Michael, but
Right.
it's mostly companies that are European based that are
Yes.
looking for U.S. talent. So that hasn't slowed down at all.
Gotcha. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Same-
interesting.
Same
Yeah.
thing here.
Okay.
I've got multiple European and all around the world, actually, clients, and some of them are trying to scale here in the U.S. and figure out the new normal with us.
Right.
And some of them had plans to already come to this market anyway, so
Right.
it's not slowing down a bit. And then I'll go back and revisit what you asked Cindy originally on the process. Remember, I'm the digital guy, right? The
Yeah.
e-commerce guy looking for conversion. I think the efficiencies of being able to interview via video and all the things to not have to travel in face to face have made the process faster. I can move people
That's
through
an
the
interesting,
second, third,
that's an
fourth
interesting
interview
viewpoint.
quicker.
Yeah. Very interesting viewpoint. Yeah. I know my brother did a lot of work in the UK up until last year.
Yeah.
And so he can decide whether he misses traveling to London or not.
Yeah.
You know, because I said, he told me, Jesus, I miss my miles that I was collecting.
exactly.
And so does his wife. However, I'd rather be at home with my boys that are in college and they have to be at home. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a trade.
give and take.
Yeah.
We're going to run about
Some
a
of
minute.
these families will never get this time back with their kids.
That's
Like Michael's
true.
got
Yeah.
two
That
young
is so
kids.
true. That is so true. That is so true. I talk about a blessing with, you know, meeting the namesake of the show, Cash, now in my life. And we thank God every day for meeting right before COVID. And so
Yeah, we were on lockdown.
We were on lockdown together, you know. So.
Oh, darn. but you know what? And I love what you two are saying. And to speak to the audience and to the viewers and listeners, everyone out there, keep calling. Give you guys a call because it is not slowing down. You've got jobs. You've got opportunities. So look at this time as getting your resumes ready, get your, your profiles ready,
And
give
network.
you guys a call.
And network.
And give you guys a call.
And network. Is there any role, Cindy or Michael, that you'd like to highlight at this point? Anything?
I'll speak to the ones I'm working on right now. There's, like I said, a tremendous number today of those really seasoned, ready to run a team. I use the baseball analogy, right?
Yeah.
You can play any position in baseball, but you might not be the superstar to run the clubhouse. We're needing those folks that could run the clubhouse in marketing, meaning manage a team of talent, take a brand to the next level. Maybe not a startup, maybe a scale-up, wanting to go from 50 million to 100 million or 100 million to 200 million. Those are, I'd love to have conversations with folks about that type of role because there's certainly a lot of need in that world today.
Beautiful. Okay, Cindy?
Yeah, I would just like to encourage, I'm working on several different roles, but so many of my searches are sort of like looking for that purple unicorn. Their client is requiring XYZ requirements. So I would encourage anyone that's watching that if you are in the food and beverage and consumer space, sales and marketing, send me your resume. Let's have a conversation. And that way I can have you teed up in a confidential database for future opportunities.
Beautiful. There you go.
I agree.
Okay. Cindy, Michael, it has been a joy having you. I know we've been working on this for a couple
I
of
know,
weeks.
we could keep going. We're going to
And
have you back.
this could continue. I could just have this conversation with them all day long, but so exciting to hear that that the companies out there that are really actively recruiting are pushing for more growth.
Yeah.
They're pushing for more growth. They're looking for talent.
Amazing.
And I think it's open to everybody. I don't care how old you are. If you're willing to go in and have, like Cindy said, the energy, the ability to adapt, and be articulate, understand your craft, understand your business, these are the people to talk to.
They are.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I want to say thank you for
Thank you,
joining us
guys.
today and wishing you all the best. And we will continue to drive
pleasure.
people your way.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Good to
Thank
meet
you.
Kashay.
You too,
Okay.
guys. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene,
mangia
mangia
italiano.
italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sadaf Javed. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist and I see adults also. I've been practicing in the greater Houston area for the past 5 years and my practice is in the west side of town. In these unprecedented times, it is so important to check in with your mental health. Please pick up the phone and call 832-304-7244 or mycognitivepsychiatry.com and we would be happy to help. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Was that a cool segment or what?
Wow.
I mean, that was enlightening. It really was. I mean, when you're talking to two senior people,
They were amazing.
I mean, just and how the grasp that they had on. I love the branding piece that Michael was talking about, and then Cindy saying, you know, this is what I listened for. I loved it. What did you think?
I thought they were, you know, like you said, I had a taste of that world.
Right.
And boy, were they spot on.
Yeah.
Where were they? I should have, Robert Half, I should have gone to Lucas Group. Darn it. That's what I have to say, period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, having been, excuse me, they, you know, again, the Lucas Group, 50th year anniversary this year, there's a lot to be said, you know, for a company, you know, growing and, you know, 50 years later, still being, you know, a leader in the executive search. There's a lot to be said about that. Obviously, with talent like Cindy and Michael.
I mean, their expertise and their knowledge, it just spews out of them. I mean, you can just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so glad to have them on, and thank you
awesome.
again,
That was awesome.
Michael and Cindy. I've got a quote for you, okay? And surprise, surprise, I started reading another book.
Let's see. Did you want to tell anybody about your first book you read?
Evolve or Die was awesome. By the way, look for the book called Evolve or Die. Yay. It was great.
That was one of your birthday
It was great.
Yeah.
And then one of the folks that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, he actually is a broker on e-commerce businesses.
Okay.
He listed on his profile, he did a post that he is reading a autobiography on Benjamin Franklin.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, we're
and
going
here
back.
is a quote that is appropriate for today that Ben Franklin said at one point, and I admire Benjamin Franklin. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him here in a second. But his quote is as follows: "Well done is better than well said."
Action is better than what...
There you go.
I mean, don't tell me you're going to do something. Don't ever tell me you're going to... Show me.
That's right.
That's when you got my attention.
That's right. That's right. Did I show you when we first started dating?
Okay, so
I
back
started
to
laughing when she started about the
tell everybody everything?
She started
I'm
about
trying to keep
when
up.
Cindy was talking about the prep.
I know.
It's about prepping.
I know,
said,
yeah.
I wonder if I prepped correctly
Well,
when I went out on my first date.
When I first walked in the room, we'll get it out real quick. When I first walked in and I saw him and his disposition, and I mean, and people who know me, people who know me know, like, I'm pretty, and you've got to know me, I'm pretty critical, like, in what I've looked for. I mean, my standards are probably by society considered above what anybody would normally expect, and I am who I am.
And rightfully so.
Oh.
And rightfully so, babe. I say this with, you know, obviously with love and just openness.
Yeah.
You should be selective.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you should
you.
be. No, you should be. You should be.
But boy, I mean, you spewed it, man. You spewed it. Okay, I can tell
If
you
my
that now.
sisters Brenda and Tatiana are
but
watching,
I can say it now.
Don't worry, it's not going to my head.
Yeah, because this
Don't-
is different now. We're past that point. But okay, go ahead.
Action speaks louder than words. That's exactly right. One thing that Benjamin Franklin was known for was being a doer.
Okay.
He was obviously a founding father.
Yeah.
He was an inventor, philosopher, journalist. I'm missing something. Just
Was he a
naturally,
writer?
He was a writer. He wrote poetry as well.
Yeah.
But for somebody that was just so he was the man was a sponge. Okay. But even as an early age, very precocious. And really got on his parents and his family's nerves because he'd ask about everything. He ran away when he was a teenager.
Inquisitive.
You know, just very inquisitive, very inquisitive.
Yeah.
But along those lines is what I love this quote because action speaks better than words. There is no better time than right now then right now that if you want to start that business that we've talked about or retrain for a new career, especially where careers are going, do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the time. This is the time. So here's some tips that I looked for, that I found on if somebody's saying, yeah, but how do I begin? How, later in my career,
right?
And even Michael alluded to this in his segment when we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
He said he's working with people that are 20 to 30 years into the career. But if they have a body of work that they can still market as a brand, which he said, okay, and you can tweak that, readjust yourself, and understand what's happening in the digital world, okay, that gives you a leg up because you've already got the experience of managing people, hiring and firing, driving revenue, delivering performance, especially revenue and income performance, okay? But if you want to change careers, here's a couple of tips. How to set yourself up to retrain for a new career. Number one, start by pinpointing what an ideal target job would be. Have you ever met somebody, maybe at a networking thing or say, boy, I love what they do. They just seem passionate about it. They seem to be having a good time at it. Sure. Or even online on LinkedIn, somebody's doing a post on, hey, we just started or rolled out this line. I say, boy, that appears to be a pretty cool job or skill, or what a cool startup. Maybe I can lend myself to that. Sure. Focus on the fit. You can go to glassdoor.com and read reviews on how the company, the inside view of the company, the culture, because there's a lot to be, a lot to be about fit. And there's some incredible companies out there, just incredible.
That's a great point.
Find the right training program. Sometimes it's internal. Sometimes there's training programs to retrain.
Yes.
Yourself internally. And some people don't even know that there's a learning module or there's an intranet that offers things they didn't even know about, especially if it's a bigger company. Yep. Now, along those lines, I looked at something last night that I confess I wasn't privy to. Have you ever heard of Google's Digital Garage?
No.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Maybe I heard it, but didn't know it. Yeah.
You and I had a conversation the other day about
what did we talk about?
How prevalent information is and how free information is. I mean, and now there's even a discussion around, are college degrees necessary? Because you could go out there and train yourself. That's what Benjamin Franklin did. He was an apprentice at 12 years old, but then also he was self-studied. He was a person that prided himself on being self-studied and just self-driven on gaining information. Today, you can go to Google's Digital Garage, and there are countless online courses, everything from public speaking to negotiating to digital marketing to coding, and it's free.
Yeah,
it's free. It's free. This is what I would encourage somebody to do.
Okay.
If you're looking at how do I just even get started, I looked at this last night. Okay. There's a couple of courses I'd like to take personally, and they break it. You can't make it any easier. They say this is a 20-hour course. This is a 5-hour course. This is a 40-hour course, and they break the modules down. Module number 1 is going to take about 35 minutes. Okay. Module number 2 is going to take about 40 minutes. Module number 3. So you can literally plan that out because it's self-study and self-paced.
Right.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. Don't forget about the trades. There's trades out there that people are looking for. Trades. In some cases, that are more labor intensive. Okay. I remember reading about a lady that had quit a senior VP job at Amex because she wanted to open a craft store.
Okay.
And the reason she was profiled about this is because she said, what was keeping me from running this craft store in an area is I was attached to the social prestige.
Wow.
The social prestige of being a senior VP at American Express. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with your chosen path and career. There's nothing wrong with that. But her passion was engaging every day as a small business person.
You bring out a great point. I think people have to ask themselves the question, are you going to go the route that is, I'm doing the job or the career that I've chosen, or am I going to go after the job or the career that's my passion? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get both, but you have to know the difference.
Right.
And whatever you choose, know what you're choosing.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point. Very good point. Try temping. I have to confess to the audience that the reason I'm sitting in this chair is because of my beautiful girlfriend here next to me. She gave me the opportunity, and I had always thought about it, but I never gave it a try. God put you in my life, babe, for so many things, but along that is to do this because the personal challenge that I feel every single week, because you've given me the reins of the outline for the show.
Yeah.
Every single week has, not only does it drive you through the challenge, but it also forces you to gain knowledge to keep you relevant.
This is so true, because organically, I would have never, in my wildest dreams and your wildest dreams, we're sitting there in COVID, and I'm like, I had the show, and no one's even thinking about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to figure out what I got to do with Friday's show.
Right.
I've got to figure it out.
Right.
And we're sitting there, we may have been having our coffee, and then it just, but again, it was a plan.
Right.
And here it is unfolding, and there's so much more.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
It's amazing.
The final point I want to say is look for retraining opportunities within your current company. I think Michael brought up an incredible point, is that there's companies that are trying to pivot. There's companies that are trying to pivot because either COVID caught them by surprise.
Sure.
There's been bottlenecks. They're looking for more warehouse space. They're looking for new lines to add or acquire.
Sure.
Right? So if you say, you know what, I'm up to the challenge, let me figure out how to do that for us.
Open yourself
and
up.
open yourself up.
And don't
open
be
yourself up.
closed-minded. I love that.
Yeah, open yourself up.
Love that.
Yeah. So we got the episode done today, babe. Something we've been looking forward to a couple of days.
That was an amazing show.
I love that.
I have to say, today was an amazing show. I mean, all of them are, but each one has its own beauty. But today was a really good one.
Yeah,
And
I really
thank you so
enjoyed
much.
Cindy and
So
Michael's
hopefully the audience
insight.
and the viewers can really take to that, because I know right now it's a struggling time with
Right.
unemployment and jobs,
Right.
and people. Hopefully they'll reach out, because that was a really, really good show.
Exactly. Okay. And we've got some more digital stuff coming up next
Yay.
week. Next week. So tune in next week. Same time, same bat time, and same bat place.
Okay.
And
We'll
we're
be
going to
here.
talk about some cool stuff happening in the digital world. Tune in next week.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Sebastian de